Okay, folks, it is time for episode 70 in the challenges. We're getting closer to the next championship and the midway point of the season as we head up to, in universe, the end of June. Or I guess middle of June now. Uh, the thing is, we haven't actually decided what that championship is going to be. As fucking bizarre as that might sound, at some point, I think Thrasher tried to convince us to do a dirt championship, but we're just sat there like, that doesn't seem like it would go too well. We don't even have 5 tracks to visit. There's only 4 off-road circuits in the game, Polyphony. So concerned with VR2, we're not concerned with the fact there's only 1 street circuit in the game and 4 dirt tracks. Anyway, I think Nittery was just saying, why don't we just do the 680 championship, but that seemed like a bit of chaos because there's like 60 or 70 different cars in that category. Each one would have to run an individual qualifying lap, probably, because let's face it, most of them are probably going to try and make it into that. We'd have to sift through like at least 45, maybe 50, or even more than that, qualifying attempts. And look, that's assuming that me and Nittery and Thrasher don't also run it. So, currently the aim is a Stars and Stripes championship, but it's still up in the air. I mean, we should probably figure it out by the end of this week because, you know, next week is episode 71, and that's supposed to be the qualifying rounds for the championship, but I don't see how we're going to have qualification for a championship that doesn't exist yet. Anywho, before we continue ranting about our administrative indecision for much longer, let's head into the first race. The first race is away from a very early morning scene here at Lago Maggiore. And it is starting with the 720 class, which, it's no secret. This is like most people's favorite category. It's 680 or it's 720. And then there's those select few speed addicts who like 760 the most. 640 used to be one of my favorites because of the weird car variety, but that, kind of changed when I got KO'd out of it. I do believe I missed something up here. Yeah, I remember Raven Katsuragi just hit the tire in the grass, struggles to put the S2000s back under their control, and has to basically panic to not rejoin the circuit and drive straight into somebody. As we are on board with one of the hometown drivers here in Italy, Francesca Fidanzi, who's just shooting to the outside of her father. Never mind. The most elaborate crossover, and she'll just pass him on the inside instead. Ahead of Garrison, big huge wheelie. Brian Ice also got a big huge wheelie and got a big huge damage to his Diablo. Meanwhile, I think Garrison just used Francesca way up into the banked hairpin. And I don't know why the universe keeps putting these 3 near each other on the grid. It's like the universe is laughing in Eric's face. That also kind of pertains to one of the big headlines going into this week's events. Is these 2 have factory support now. Fucking apparently, out of all the companies to enter the series of a factory backing team, it'd be Porsche. Which is like next to Audi, not even that's even third Audi. It's like my most hated, like, car company, just period. Obviously, they don't know that. They don't need to know that, but... I'm sure I wasn't any bigger a fan that Porsche Auto Group were backing Stephanie and Billy here than Scuderia Fidanzi were, or anybody else for that matter. But it doesn't really have much to do with me. As Francesca's up to P7, trying to catch up to her teammate as the leader, and then I think it was described to me as a competitive on-track rivalry that she has with Stephanie Kaiser, who is running P2 behind him. Meanwhile, Paul Valentine is done waiting. He's going to try and pass the Cayman, but the understeer from that four-wheel drive machinery cost him a position against Francesca instead. Elbows out driving from both drivers. There's the I'm behind you headlights flash coming from Francesca's F430. I almost said F30. Never heard of that car before. Snuck to the outside. Tried to cross over, but Stephanie parked the bus on the apex. But now Francesca got a really good... What was that name? Francesca got a really... Oh my god. F430 exit corner fast. Jesus. And then didn't Eric just, like, let her go there? What was that? Like, what was Eric doing here? He just, like... altogether miss. Yeah, he just straight up missed the turn. I don't know what he was doing there. It wasn't any good, whatever it was. And Stephanie seizes the opportunity, kind of makes a bit of small bumping with the F58. Man, I'm just really pulling these model names out of my ass today, aren't I? 458. Yes, the Ferrari F30 and the F58. Next will be like the F69 or some crap. Also, for the record, I thought Eric was about to drive into the back of Stephanie there. The cold that I mentioned during the recording of 69 it's still there. It's just not nearly as debilitating as I thought it would be. Being a common cold, I probably should have expected so much. And so I figured I would probably be able to just commentate through it, not halt the process too much. Only put me a day or two behind, all things considered. As Francesca is already kind of running away with the show here, as we head out of the last turn to begin the final lap here from Lago Maggiore. Paul Valentine has quickly caught up to Eric, the horsepower of that Focus paying dividends as usual. Doesn't really give Eric any quarter there, and he also just gets a boatload of understeer, but still manages to successfully overtake the 458. You know I called it by its actual frickin' name this time. Ice What are we gonna do with you? A battle for not last between Brian Ice and Raven Katsuragi results in this. Ice, why do you even show up to this track anymore, my guy? You're like trying to total that Diablo of yours. Anyway, back to current time. Goodness, Paul is really pushing that focus to try and get up to Stephanie here. I've only now noticed just how much of this race's starting grid was Thrasher's recruits. You have Eric, and then there's Thrasher himself, me, and that's it. Everybody else is somebody that Thrasher recruited or one of Thrasher's buddies. Some description. They both massively adjust their braking zone to try and outmatch the other heading to the banked hairpin. Kaiser is certainly feeling the pressure of that Ford Focus and all of its Ford GT powered glory behind her. Makes quite a mess. Oh yeah, she's feeling that pressure. She just completely missed that turn, but Paul's not able to capitalize either. Hey, now to the last turn. Fedonzi's going to take a home circuit victory as Francesca Fedonzi will head across the finish to win at Lago Maggiore. A drag race that is narrowly won by Stephanie for P2 at the finish. Paul Valentine will have to settle for P3, and Eric, not his most shining performance. He had that one bad corner on the east end of the circuit and never really recovered, and overtime fell to P4 on the results sheet. The results sheen. No, that's not the word. As Raven and Brian Ice. Well, actually, I don't even know how Raven managed her car to end up back there with Ice, but then Ice slipped again. Oh my god! Excuse me. Ice slipped again. And collected Raven, so they battled for 19th back there, like a couple of buffoons. On to race 2 then. Race 2 is away from Fuji, a track that I think we ought to probably just get used to seeing now. This is, for those who may recall, the Twisted Invitationals, and particularly the Unhinged installments, how that was always trying to find basically a home base circuit, and eventually we landed on one. I don't quite remember what it was anymore though, because it was a while ago. I want to say it was Eagles Peak. But that's effectively what Fuji Speedway has become for us now, as my dad moves under braking and just blocks Jake Downey right off. So they've given each other a bit of damage. Yeah, no, Fuji has become basically the Fuji is to the Challenge Series as Silverstone is to Formula One, or Daytona and Charlotte are to NASCAR. This is like our home circuit, our base of operations. I mean, the NFR garage is here, as is the main administrative office for myself, Venturi, and with Thrasher. So this is, by all means, the home of the Challenge Series, so we're going to be seeing a lot of races that take place here. As a bunch of cars break off, tend to the pits, as about half a dozen looked like had damage to their vehicle. At least half a dozen. Violetta, I don't remember how they corrected me or if they did or not, but Violetta Vegas is the POV car. We've already completed a whole lap and I haven't even mentioned that yet. Great job, me. Yeah, she is the POV. Her boyfriend is running in a relatively comfortable lead over Victoria Noir. And we got a battle. Oh wait, no, that's Vegas getting ahead of Kenji Fujikawa and getting a little bit sideways while doing so. Very sideways, following behind the fellow Gran Turismo S driver of Fernando Ferranzi. I almost forgot his name there. Down the inside of Narashi, also gets to the inside of Noir. So, if she sticks it on exit here, it's going to be hard to out-accelerate a four-wheel drive car, but inside lane will help. And yeah, Vegas essentially just got a 3-for-1 deal. 3 passes, 1 sector. But now she has to face up against her boyfriend to try and steal the lead away. She moves over to try and overtake, and Lombardi just completely blocks her off right there. Lombardi really said the victory is more important than our relationship, and blocked her off, and now it looks like he's just going to send it down her inside after she's made the pass stick. Although that was a clean overtake, at the very least. The pack racing behind as more blocking is administered. Fernando takes P3 away from, basically makes multiple overtakes. Now Vegas is taking to giving her boyfriend a bit of a bump draft, and Fernando has to resist himself to send it back down the inside on his own accord and force the issue. Vegas will attempt the outside, it doesn't work. Now she's going to cross to the other outside of these high-speed corners and is forced a tire in the grass. She's still on the racetrack. Uh-oh. Ooh, Jesus. That's hefty damage to both cars there. Both getting some suspension damages from Vegas's excursion. She managed to be like halfway in control, and I think Lombardi thought she was just straight up gone, and she slid back across the track. In the chaos, Fernando sneaks down the inside of the Evo and grabs that spot away from him. This is going to be a very tough, this is going to be a very harsh relationship counseling session after this race, I can tell you that already. Lombardi may have plenty of money, but it doesn't mean he enjoys spending it fixing his cars because his girlfriend, well, you know, tried to race him, heaven forbid. Of course, knowing Vegas as I do, she's not going to pit here. And coming off of the victory last round at Lago Maggiore, it is now a 2-3 running order to the credit of Scuderia Fidenzi. Francesco following behind Fernando, and it is another Italian vehicle of Vegas that leads the way, so the Italian patriotic, the patriotic Italian fans of the Challenge Series will rejoice at today's results up to this point. Pretty single file now. All of the chaos seems to have really just subsided pretty quickly now that Vegas has taken the lead, and Lombardi is back here in 17th. Decent number of damaged cars, so he's not exactly alone back here. I think, yeah, even Thrasher and Axel were damaged. I don't know if Setsuko was. I don't really recall watching her go into the pit, but don't remember where she was in relation to me. I don't think she did, though. I think her S14 just isn't well suited to this circuit. As Vegas heads out of the last turn, she is, well, she's won the race, but at what cost? I don't know if I even want to imagine. You better enjoy this checkered flag while you can, Vegas, 'cause it's only going to get downhill from here. Another drag race to the line, but Fernando keeps second place over his teammate and sister? Yeah, sister. They're both children of Francisco, I believe. That's a really long family lineage. There's about a handful more that aren't here as well, just to tack on additional what the fuckness from the Fidanzi family line. But ultimately, even though Vegas has won the race, it's still certainly not a result that Scuderia Fidanzi can be upset with. 2-3. That'll keep the lights on. That's for sure. On to race 3 then, I suppose. Damn, no one really fell off here. The third race of the episode is green, and it's a very interesting looking race start as we head to Tsukuba Circuit. It's one of the lesser used circuits in the Challenge Series is Arsenal here. 640 class racing, we had to do a grid start due to the number of cars at the start of the race, would make the race start a bit chaotic and also a bit unsafe. Cars would be launched in the middle of the final turn, and that usually just results in chaos. 7 laps here from Tsukuba Circuit, which will probably add up to be just over 6 minutes. I think around 6.5. Maybe it will be like 7 actually. But I mean, that's the idea. Exhibition races in the Challenge Series kind of target the 6 to 8 minute range, so as Colin Morris blinks out of existence as he is pit for damage, and he is the only car that I can see that has to do so. Yeah, only him. Amelia Fontaine is the camera car, who, you know, remember the last time that we had her as the POV driver, she got caught with an illegal vehicle. So this Yaris of hers was under additional scrutineering, but it passed, so here we are, obviously, or she wouldn't be in the damn race. Gets to the inside of Kingsley. That truck probably isn't the most fun thing to try and wrestle around this circuit. Speaking of wrestling, Fontaine's using a bit of her own rally knowledge to try and keep the Yaris in check. Most of the screen is obscured by... Guys, how stupid are we? I feel like this has happened before, where the scoreboard staff at Tsukuba fucked something up royally. That's not Dakota Kingsley. That's Damien Kotexa. And I guess the idiots up there on the staff are like, oh, they drive a truck, that must be Dakota. Because I don't think Kotexa has raced here before. That's still not really an excuse, as methodically, Fontaine gets ahead of a lot of vehicles throughout the last hairpin on the exit and the way through it. Stuck on the outside of Lynette Mulsanne, kind of making her look foolish, to be honest. And here we have the three leaders running bumper to bumper up here. Melissa Weiss leads from Saeed Al-Zaman, and and then the Alfa Romeo of Nico Mizotto. Fontaine still has a bit of work to do to catch them, but I mean, she's got 3.5 laps to do that. That isn't helping. Oversteer really isn't gonna help matters. Yeah, I've seen some pretty bad scoreboard staff errors up to this point. We've seen people given the wrong nationality or typos in names. This is just straight up the wrong guy. And I don't really know how you did that, Tsukuba staff. Well, having said all that, it seems that Fontaine has already done most of the work in the process of catching the lead three cars, who still run basically in a funeral procession around the racetrack. We get it, you do rally. Jesus. Show off. Outdrags Mizotto, probably thanks to a better launch out of that hairpin. And now it's the four-wheel drive Toyota wars for the race lead here at Tsukuba. Fontaine fancies a move on the inside of Zaman and just runs, I should say, Melissa Weiss right out of the way with a bump and run at Tsukuba to seize the race lead. And then she immediately misses the next turn. Good job. Weiss comes back at her. They're still too wide, meanwhile behind them, Al-Zaman had to defend from Mizotto through the same set of turns. And he succeeded, but Fontaine gives Weiss another smack. Still more contact between the two Yaris drivers. We head towards the last turn, and therefore towards the last lap. A crossover from Weiss, but she loses her momentum in the middle of the turn. Oh! Fontaine has to catch the car as she's been clearly pushing the thing to its limit. Weiss with the move. And Al-Zaman just getting quite the show here between, honestly, two drivers that kind of followed in his footsteps. Toyota off-road racers. Just in the wrong model, and not quite Dakar, but more Monte Carlo rally. And he's like super close to them too. If they really fuck each other over, Al-Zaman's in the perfect spot to seize the moment. Some more drifting later, Fontaine does eventually take the lead away. And Mizotto tries to send on the outside of the truck. I don't think that's gonna work. That's four-wheel drive. Alyssa Weiss can do not but watch as she has seized defeat from the jaws of victory. And Amelia Fontaine is going to inertia drift her way around the final turn to take a very physical victory at Tsukuba. I guess in a way you could probably call this challenge series as short track, up there with Laguna Seca, as this is not even a 2-mile long lap. So I guess it's just short track racing, as the NASCAR guys would say. Like Kingsley or Cortexa, because apparently they're interchangeable now. Anyway, on to the fourth race. And we are green for what will probably be a pretty short race here at the Glen. We're using the short layout, but we did the wrong number of laps. This should have been a 5-lap race, but it's only going to be 4, so we're missing out on about a minute and a half's worth of racing. This one probably won't even reach the 6-minute mark. Risei Kujikawa is the prospective racer here. Not prospective, perspective. As it is oh so very claustrophobic heading towards the bus stop. Alyssa Weiss almost off the track completely. Starting grid doing her no favors after her crushing loss last time out at Tsukuba. And we're already coming to the end of the first lap here, minute 15 into the race. So yeah, no, this one won't hit the 6-minute mark, as no one got damaged apparently on the first lap. That's admittedly and unfortunately a surprise. Mishima took second just there. Thrasher, I think, just out-dragged Marcus Mendez. Risei has just taken herself into the top 20 with a move on myself. Risei is going to try 3 wide with Akira and Marcus and sticks it. Also gets Thrasher for bonus points, so she has utmost confidence in her capabilities in that Peugeot. And she'll get around... Really, people, another fuck up. That's not Joe Moore, that's AJ Unleaded. I thought Watkins was better than that. I'm sure AJ Unleaded probably thought he was better than this too, as he's been overtaken by 2 cars on just 1 straightaway. At least the rest of the top, like, 7 are correct. Sayori also got ahead of fake Joe Moore. Joe Moore is not here. I do believe I remember reading the commentary notes of this one that these two had a bit of a run-in. I think it must have been around here. Yeah, I think, I don't actually know what to call that. I don't know if that was Reiko moving over lane or Risei moving over lane to give her the bumper, or I don't know what. I know these two have had some run-ins on and off the circuit. They're not quite in a rivalry, not along anywhere near the same lines as, like, say, Wayne Hansen and Dom DePrisco, or the way that Dakota Kingsley was with Martin Simpson, before their respective antagonists were eliminated from the equation. But I know that Risei and Reiko do not like each other. And Risei, you know, by extension, therefore, her relationship with Kazuma Hanamura is no better. Reiko is coming under threat from a fucking hot rod. Thomas is right there on her heels. Big Dog's gotta eat. He's got a bit of a run on the 432. I don't know why I called it that. It's a Fairlady Z, me. As Sam Hilton is under some threat from John Thrasher. I don't know why he put his first name there. Doesn't like that either. That was just for, he just has the first initial there because everybody has to do that. Based on the fact that Victoria Noir prefers to just go by Noir, I think that might actually have been the same case for her. I'm getting a sneaking suspicion of that. Fujikawa, not Sayori, Rise, not related, keep that in mind. In perfect control of her 208 here. There's always a small part of me that hates having to call French cars winning races. Rise is going to hit up the last turn in her shopping cart on, her V6 shopping cart and grab the W at Watkins Glen. Alice Carson survives for P2 and Mishima hangs on to P3 against the raging torrent of the Ford Roadster. And I think it's safe to say that Thrasher moving his little truck to the 600 class from the 640 has paid dividends for him. Certainly going to be doing some firing after this week, because that's 2 mislabeled drivers in 1 week. With, actually just in 2 days even, since yesterday was the Kingsley Cortexa slip up, and now we've got, at least in that case, it was, they're both Americans, their names start with the same first letter, same sound effects, DC versus DK, and they both have similar backgrounds. Joe Moore is from Singapore and AJ is from Canada. How do you screw that up? Great lights. We are green for the roulette race here at Barcelona, Catalunya. And it's very early morning here as we get underway. You can see little more than just headlights heading through the first set of turns. Only 19 cars here, as our 20th driver noticeably was signed up and everything, and as they were making their way to the starting grid, they discovered that their car would not start. Yeah, I'll give you one guess. At any rate, POV driver is Kazuya Takahata. I sometimes get his name mixed up with Kazuma Hanamura. He's already in P7 in his 720 class Green Monster R33. Just a nickname. But that's not the only headline, as I see Madness 3 wide in the hairpin. We have a new driver as part of the factory support package, I suppose. I think that's how it was described to me anyway. Hans Frankfurt is the 3rd driver on the Porsche AG race team, joining Stuber and Kaiser. And we got repairs. I think Hikari bit off it more than he could chew with that move at the hairpin and bumped into something. As Takahata gets ahead of Taniguchi, Well, the one he's a rival against, so I'm sure that is filling him with immense pleasure at the moment that he has overtaken him. Noir is tracking down Stephanie Kaiser. Thrasher is sort of on his own here, as is Takahata. The front of the pack is pretty spread out. Matoya Iwasaki is currently leading, and he's got a decent margin in hand, courtesy of the car in second place not even being in the same category as him. And the one that's second in his category is having a bit of struggle keeping up with the Carrera for reasons. I mean, Noir is relatively new to the game, so it makes sense. She's not exactly the most experienced, and just because she had that big win at Fuji doesn't mean she's gonna be a Mary Sue by any stretch. Somebody assaulted some cones earlier as Takahata catches up to the back of Thrasher, who... Yeah, he just embarrassed on the outside there. Thrasher overbroke for that final turn. Victoria has finally gotten ahead of Kaiser, or sorry, Noir. Not Victoria. She doesn't like being called by her first name. For whatever ass backwards reason, whatever. So now she can go after the overall and category leader of Iwasaki. Kaiser will do her damnedest to keep up, and Takahata will do his damnedest to catch up to Kaiser and claim the category lead. Frankfurt is in a 760 class car, by the way. This 997 is in the top division. Has most of the same tuning as Kaiser's previous 997 that got absolutely jumped last week by Ambrosio Reyes' error. That's the best way I can describe what that was. Everything about that was just a mistake. Reyes putting his car there. Milo not paying attention to him putting his car there. Reyes could have just, I don't know, pumped the brakes when he was off the road instead of trying to send it. That crash was just as much Reyes' fault as it was Milo's. Probably more, if anything. As Kazuya has caught the lead 3. Kaiser is sticking with these lead 2 cars pretty well, but she is now being overtaken by Takahata, thus granting the R33 the category lead. Noir is right there on the back of the R34, but she doesn't feel like a move. Not sure if it's hesitation or patience. Is she trying to feel Iwasaki out and find somewhere that R34 is lacking? Or is she just not sure where she wants to try the move? But her time limit is upon her as Takahata is right under her rear wing now. In a car division below hers. He tries the inside at turn 5, I think that is. Nothing. Flashes the headlights. I'm not sure if that's... I think he's a little annoyed with her for not getting out of the way or something. Like, she doesn't have to do that. He still needs to move down the inside. I'm not sure if that's a you're in my way or if that's a go faster headlights maneuver, but Battery's just trying to get in Noir's head. Probably knowing that she's new to the game, new to the Challenge Series. You think she's a bit wet behind the ears and might just be easily distracted by some flashing lights. Maybe that's Takahata's game plan, but either way, he gets to the inside through Sector 3 and eventually overtakes the Viper. And now it is going to be a GTR battle. Takahata versus Iwasaki. These two, I have no doubt, have raced against each other one another before. Yep, there's the headlights. Because apparently we're on the expressway now. We gotta do that. We gotta flash your headlights to start the battle. Or some shit. I don't know. I believe we will just cross over to, 2 laps remaining here from Catalonia. So with some luck, we get 2 laps worth of a GTR war between Kazuya and Motoya. There's the first swipe at Iwasaki from Takahata, but it turns up nothing. There's very different ways of attacking that chicane. And very different ways of attacking this high-speed right as well. And I guess Kazuya's way is better as he gets ahead of Iwasaki. Not quite. The R34 sends it back down the inside, crossover maneuver from the R33. Even that's not enough. He still keeps the bumper in it though, but he has to try and hang on the outside of a very long hairpin. They make some contact, but not much. Elbows out, Takahata on the outside of the penultimate turn. Iwasaki's still basically there though. And with the added horsepower on that R34, I don't think Takahata is out of the woods just yet. No. The R34 is alongside, the R34 is down the inside. Ultra superlative late braking techniques from Jinte will give the R34 the lead again. Somehow Noir is not getting more into this battle. I thought she'd be closer to this. They're too wide still, heading up through turn 3, and eventually Jinte, I think, just concedes on corner exit. Actually, no, he just missed his ship. He's back down the inside of the R33! Again! This time I think they're both pushing. I think they almost caught a bit of oversteer, even with their all-wheel drive systems. Heading through 4. Traffic might play a factor. That is Francisco Fidanzi, who's really just taking things at his own pace back here in last. I know that Mito isn't exactly super powerful. They both get around the obstacle with little issues, and the door banging continues between the GTRs, but eventually Takahata sneaks his way, or really just like smacks his way ahead of Iwasaki. With just a handful of turns left to make. Now only 1 left to make, and that's a decent margin of a bit of breathing room, and Takahata has defeated the newer generation. He's defeated Jinte at Catalunya. And Noir takes 3rd place overall. Stephanie P4. Eric in the 760 class couldn't beat Stephanie in the 720. I was scrolling. Riho Futaba wins the 680 category over Uozomi. Liv Newstein wins in the 640 category over Francesca Fernanzi. And Natsuki wins the 600 category over Mendez and... Wow, that's... Considering how on fire they were in the first races of this episode, this has been an absolutely forgettable end to the week for Scuderia Fidanzi. I mean, that's about where a 600 class car should be running last. Don't know what the hell happened with Fernando that he's down there below 2 cars in the 600 class, and he's driving his 680 Maserati. Francesca did fine, although 2nd in class out of a mere 3 is not anything to write home about either. Actually, all the classes were about that small. There were 4 in 680, because that's where Fernando is. 1, 2, 3 in 640, 3 in 600. And then there were 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, five 720s. And 1, 2, 3, 4 760s. So yeah, there was a mix. There wasn't an excess of any category really. Just made it seem like a true multi-class event more than anything. But yeah, that is episode 70 in the books. And hopefully by the next one we figure out what the fuck we're gonna qualify for episode 71. But until then, yah yeet.